We are just live streaming, so give 1 minute or a couple seconds. Okay, we are ready to go.
Just want to welcome everyone to our regular meeting, Shasta City Council, Tuesday, November 17, 2020, called to order at 6:02 p.m. Roll call, all council members are present.
Councilmember Prout will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mayor Alvarado will lead us.
Mayor Alvarado, can you repeat that last part? I'm sorry, it cut out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
It's very low.
Just 1 second here. Excuse me. 1 second.
I'm sorry, Mayor, we can't hear you.
I'll let them know.
Mayor Alvarado, do you want to try calling in on the phone through the phone line?
Okay. Let me
Oh, here we go. We can hear you a little bit.
All right, how about now?
Very low, but we can hear you.
Okay. How about now?
It's very low still, but it's manageable.
Okay, I'll try to speak up. Sorry about that. Let me just start all over, Yasmina?
All I got was the roll call we started at 6:02 and roll call all commissioners present.
Okay,
Or all planning, I'm sorry, council members, I'm sorry.
Okay, Councilmember Prout will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mayor Alvarado will lead us in the invocation.
okay, if all of you will join with me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we just come before you right now. We just ask you to guide us through this meeting, Lord, and just put this meeting in your hands. Thanks for all the blessings you have given us. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right. Approval of the agenda.
You looking for an approval? I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second,
A second. We have a motion by Councilmember Given, second by Councilmember Prout. If I'm yelling, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
It's still barely. So, Councilmember Prout,
yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
and Alvarado. I'm sorry, Mayor Alvarado, I didn't hear that.
I think you cut out again on the microphone.
Yes. Mayor Alvarado, would you be able to call in using the phone, the phone number?
Am I still cutting out bad still?
It's very low. Now we can hear you, but it's very low.
All right, let's try this, not to waste more time. I said yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, this is Gabriel Sibian. If it's possible, if you can call in because we are recording the meeting and we want to make sure that we would get your voice on for the archive of the meeting.
Okay.
You're coming in very faint. We can barely hear you, sir.
Okay, let me call in. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Hey, Jessica. To call in, how do I just? Hey, bro. Okay, can you hear me now?
Now we can see you too.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
sorry
you.
about that. Let me get my paperwork for here. Turn that one off for me. All right, sorry about that. So approval. Where do we leave off? Yes,
Great.
We are a notice to the public.
yes. Do we have any?
We do have a public comment, and it is from Amanda Zimmerman, and I will read the email that she sent. It is titled Senior Centers in Shafter. Hello, Shafter City Council. I'm writing to bring attention to the assisted living facilities in Shafter. My mother is a resident at Carrington of Shafter. Carrington had its first COVID scare since the pandemic began. I'd first like to acknowledge how incredible that is. The caretakers there are bending over backwards to ensure the safety of the residents, and I commend their hard work. These caretakers, as well as others in the system that supports this facility, are not getting easy access to the support they need. This is especially true for testing. During the most recent scare, it took 4 days for the COVID test results to be returned. If this had spread to the residents, that 4 days could have been a literal death sentence for many. After calling all over the state to better understand why this happened, I learned of several truths. No one has what they need and what they would want to keep residents safe. From the Community Care Licensing Division at the state to the county emergency management. They are struggling due to a lack of funding and infrastructure to be able to provide rapid testing to these most vulnerable populations. The people I spoke to could only say, I know, and it isn't enough, and our lawmakers have let us down. The only silver lining of the dozens of calls I made was connecting with Senator Hurtado's office, who have escalated the issue to the California Department of Health and are supposed to reach back out to me next week. If she addresses this issue and improves the speed of testing, all of us in the community will benefit. I urge the City Council to reach out to the assisted living facilities and senior centers in Shafter, give them a call and see if there is any support you can provide. From picking up PPE in Bakersfield to recognizing them for their hard work to connecting with agencies that are standing in their way to making it easier for caretakers to get tested locally. Connect with Senator Hurtado's office, 661-395-2620, and let them know the testing results for assisted living and senior centers must be improved. Let them know that this is important and you are available to support or break down any barriers you can. Control the spread of the virus. Lock down if needed. Wear masks and social distance. Encourage your families to do the same because this purple level of COVID is overwhelming our infrastructure. The excess load on our testing sites and at our hospitals will further impact these senior chances of living if they do get sick. I urge you to take this seriously and do everything you can to protect our most vulnerable community members. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there, you said it's just that one, correct?
Correct, just the one.
Oh, okay. Public comment is closed. Moving on to council announcements and reports. We'll start with Councilmember Prout.
Yes, along with you and Chad, we did attend a tour out at the Walmart Distribution Center last Friday. And I guess the best way to describe it is that it's pretty amazing out there what they are doing with such a outstanding technology that they have incorporated in that facility, which is beyond state of the art, because even other Walmarts, this one surpasses all others. So I was a thrill to be out there, and I certainly appreciate what was there. We didn't see it in full operation, which we may get another chance to see it. So if you get a chance, you really don't want to miss it. It's pretty amazing. And then I went out to the pancake breakfast that they were having at the Winterfield Air Museum on Saturday morning. It was really advertised more for a fly-in. The weather wasn't the best, and so I'm not sure if some of them made it in later, but I was there for a couple hours and it was pretty slow. But they had a good display of their equipment. The breakfast was good, and they're trying to raise money because they did not get to do their wheels and wings. So if there's any way that you can help them out financially to get them through this next year, that will be most appreciated. And then I also went to what they call the town hall meeting that was held for the complex with the Shafter Recreation and Parks District. It was the only one that was held during the day. The others were held in the evenings. This was the last one that they're having. And they gave out some information about how they dealt with the COVID and their program to this day, because some of the things hit upon virtual exercises, as well as some other online fitness activities, things that you can do, Zumba, things that you can do in place of coming together as a team or even with the rec district. They also showed pictures of phase 1 for out at this new complex, 42-acre park. They're hoping to even get some movement started out there by March of this coming year. And then it'll take them a year, March of 2022, that we will begin to see some activities happening out there. So it'll be fun to watch. This is like phase 1, but then they're still planning and working for phase 2. So it'll be an interesting project as they keep growing and expanding out. So I was glad I went, and they had a fairly good representation and a lot of input from the people that did show. That's all I have for tonight.
All right, thank you very much for that. Councilmember Givens.
Yes, as Kathy said, we were able to go to the Walmart tour, and there's really not a lot of words you can put into that. It's a phenomenal facility. The great part about that is really it feeds into, or should I say, the high schools can really feed into a facility like this because they're doing a lot of this engineering and engineering training through the high school systems right now. And it really just adapts well to how they operate their business. A facility of that size being managed by such a small amount of employees is incredible. And, everything's automated. It was just a really, really great tour to go through, and really happy we as a city were able to, work with them and get them in here. That project we were talking about it that day, that project really took place between Planning Commission and the council, and really shows our ability to adapt well and work with businesses, because we were able to adjust our own ordinance to allow for a 100-foot tall building, which, very shortly after that, they were able to come in. And it's just a really great experience to see that from start to finish. Again, going from the Planning Commission side, coming all the way through. So really great to see that. Otherwise, I've been out of town for a little bit. It has been a nice vacation and a nice getaway, so I haven't had much else to do. I would like to ask a question of council. to see if it's something that you guys would have interest in and bringing back on our next agenda item. Currently, with everything going on with the holidays, it's quite difficult to see us not being able to do things like, our Christmas tree lighting or parades. And understandably, I understand where we're at with COVID. But what we have been talking about is we have a couple of host organizations that would be willing to step up and assist with hosting a drive-in Christmas movie. And we have a facility that we'd be able to use. Again, the host would be willing to help set up with parking, as well as bringing out candy and what have you, and allowing for Santa Claus to even come in and say hello to all the cars, right? Can't really get out of our car. But we thought it'd be pretty cool if we can offer that and open the doors up to the community. So it allows families to be able to go into a drive-in movie theater, if you will, and be able to see, our hopes would be to see The Grinch on the big screen and be able to listen to it in their cars like the old days. What I would be asking the council, if you guys would have an agreement here, and I think Gabriel and I, we've talked about this to bring it on to the next agenda, would be if the council would be willing to pay out for the projection screen and the sound system and go in partnership with the different host organizations who would be putting this on. So just want to get a general consensus. If you guys are good to do that, I think it'd be great for our community to have something. And a drive-in movie theater for Christmas would be a neat experience for our young folks and still allow for our social distancing guidelines and just something good in general for the community.
I'm good with that. I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure that that's allowed. That's going to be allowed with all this COVID restrictions.
And Gabriel would have to have that conversation. I know when we talked about it last time, we had talked to public health about it, and they were good with it based on the circumstances. Again, staying in the car. But I presume, Gabriel, you're going to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, and I recently read, I think the city of Bakersfield was also proposing doing something similar in one of their parks. So we will double check with public health on their guidelines, but I think they've relaxed them a little bit, that so long as there's social distancing and people remain in their cars and whatnot, they may have some protocols, but we would follow up and bring that back to you as part of the agenda staff report.
I would like to also comment at this time that the city funds don't have to be used for this. It should be going to the local organizations and churches that finance that. Otherwise, we're going to have other groups coming to us wanting the same thing.
And it can bear the conversation when we bring it up for the agenda. I think it'd be good to have the conversation with it.
Yeah, I think that should be arranged even ahead of time. We should have enough interest in the community that they would foot the bill of that, and we just give the permit.
Possibly, yes. Like I said, I know a couple of the hosts so far have agreed to pay for all the goodie bags, if you will, and do the host of bringing everybody in and getting that set up. So yes, I would be interested in finding more partners to help with this other part of it, which is the reason I would be going to the city to see if they'd be willing to join in partnership. If not, you're correct. Other organizations can step up and work with that.
Okay, all right. We'll just go ahead and wait to see what Gabriel comes up with in the report, and then I'll bring it up on the next agenda.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Garcia.
Yeah, just real quick, thank all the, again, all the people that are working just outside in our community, keeping our community clean. Really looks nice and clean. And thank again all the ladies in the office. And we're going again through this COVID. Looks like it's gonna heat back up. So I want to thank them for what they've been doing from here and even before. I mean, they've been doing a great job. And again, thank our law enforcement. So just a real shout out to everybody, all our city employees. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Temp Lopez.
I have nothing to report at this time, Gilbert. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, I did have the opportunity to go to the Walmart, seeing that cold storage out there in Shafter, which is just an amazing place. And just to follow up what Councilmember Given said, Definitely, I'm hoping that there'll be opportunities for the high school and for the junior high to take tours of that place for them to encourage the children to want to get more involved in electronics and computers and engineering. I think that would just open their eyes just to see how all that comes together. Like they said, we didn't get the opportunity to see everything in full operation, but just to walk in there, just to see what we saw was just amazing. It is a very amazing place. It is very exciting to have something like that in the city of Shafter. So definitely, if you do get the opportunity to take the tour. But I'm hoping that the high school, Shafter High and Richmond School Districts and other local schools that are nearby take the opportunity to take a tour. I think that would definitely encourage the children to want to get more involved in engineering.
Now,
So that's pretty much all
hey,
I have to report.
Oh, Gilbert, it's me.
Yes.
Does anybody know, Chad or Kathy or anybody know how many people that's going to employ?
You know, I
In
don't
total,
know.
in total, it's somewhere around 300 to 350.
Wow.
They're going
Awesome.
to, if I remember this correctly, it's about a 500,000 square foot facility. And for the most part, they can package orders and have them ready to go in a truck with one person.
Wow.
It's completely computer operated and very manual.
And they will service 200 stores,
Correct.
and they will have probably 80 truckloads a day
Wow. That's
in and
awesome.
out.
Sneak.
And
You know,
with that,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Kathy. Go ahead.
I forgot to mention that we also had a meeting today. Caesar and I were on the committee for the mural that's being worked with the students from five of the students from the Learning Center, and the mural will be on that wall that faces the Ebenezer Reformed Church. And they had a couple drawings that we got to look at, and they're going to see how we might incorporate some of it and get some pictures back to us so that all of us will get to see them too. But it's a good layout. It's a big wall, but it's a good layout that shows a lot of things that happen and are happening in Shafter. And so, yes, the kids are pretty excited.
Kathy, I have a question. Is it on the wall of the fence, or is it the wall of the building? For the
It's
market?
the wall that's separate, that's by the street. It's right at the sidewalk. So it's not on the store, it's on
It's
that
not on the
wall.
store? Okay, I like the fence, right? It's like a fence? Is that the one?
I don't call it a fence. It's a block wall is what it is.
Yeah, okay.
The-
Yeah, but
The deliveries go in behind it to hit the
It's
store.
the block wall facing the church, is what it is.
okay.
Yes,
Okay, it's the block wall then. Okay. All right. Just to follow up, just to finish about the Walmart again. I believe what Walmart is doing today is going to be the future. So with our kids seeing what's happening in Walmart itself right now, I think, it's going to be something that's the way the distribution centers are going to start working, or they're going to start doing. So it is definitely something exciting to have, and just to have here in our backyard. So, all right, with that said, we're going to go ahead and move on to consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Make a motion to approve as read.
I'll second it.
Okay.
We have a motion by Councilmember Givens, second by Mayor Pro Temp Lopez to accept
Councilmember Prout?
consent,
Oh, I'm sorry.
to accept the consent calendar. All right, go ahead.
Councilmember Prout,
yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes, ma'am.
Garcia,
Yes, thank you.
and Alvarado.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to management report, the number one item on there is a planning commissioner's appointment. City Manager Gonzalez.
Early Mayor and Council, this evening is the item before you. You held interviews of the 8 candidates that submitted a letter of interest to serve on the Planning Commission. And this evening you are considering appointment of those candidates. As staff, well, let me clarify. As a city council, they're your appointees. You're the ones who appoint members to the Planning Commission. As staff, we're providing to you the format in which you can make those selections. We have 2 for you. One is a process of elimination They go through rounds. Each of you would would name your 3 top candidates, and then we would tally who the highest vote getters were until you narrow down to the top 3 remaining commissioners. That's one format. The other is more of a rating format that's a little bit more complex, and I'll have our city clerk bring up the first spreadsheet, which is the simple, straightforward. So under this format, this is the spreadsheet. Each of you would give me who your selections are, and then we would tally the number of not votes, but recommendation or nominations, if you will, and then we will narrow it down. Pretty straightforward. The second format, and I'll wait for our city clerk. Is something that's similar to what we use for our interview process to rank the candidates. And so with that, let me have our city clerk explain that format. So Yasmina.
Hello, I'm just trying to, sorry. So the format we have here is you would rate 1 through 10, highest, 10 being the highest. And you would basically, we would tally each sheet for each council member. So each council member would have a rating form, which we have here on the side. And we would call out, we would start with a council member and we would call out each applicant's name, and you would give us your rank for them, 1 through 10, and 10 being the highest. And we would do that for each council member. So after we do that, we would tally up the scores. So for the first candidate, we would tally up the scores from the 5 rating forms, and then we would divide that score by 50, because the highest score would be 50 from all the forms together. So, and that would be, the percentage would be, for example, someone would get a score of 38 and we would divide it by 50. And I believe that was I wrote it down. So 36. So if someone scored a 36 and we divided it by 50, they would rank 72%. So then it would be the highest percentage. The top 3 with the highest percentage would be the appointees. So that is one way to do it as well. Is there any questions on that?
And so, Mayor and Council, if you don't have a preference with either one, we can go with the first format, which was the spreadsheet, and it's more of the process elimination. The highest vote getters would move forward until you got to the 3. Each of you have the discretion to provide comment, if you like, on your selections. Give reasons of why you're selecting or not selecting, or not. It's your discretion for each one as you're going through the process. So, Mayor, Council, do you have a preference of the 2 that we've provided for you?
Let me ask you this, on the one that's on the screen right now that we put 1 to 10, would you give a candidate only of the 8, only one of them would get a 10, or do you give a 10 to all 3?
Well, it's your ranking. So if you felt that there was 3 candidates that, in your opinion, warranted a 10, you could give those 3 a 10. And then we would tally that up. So each one you would rank. So for example, Mr. Calderon, you can give him a 10. David France, you can do an 8. Mr. Harmer, you would do like a 9, and then another 10. And then we would take the total of that and then divide it by the 50, and then that would give us the percentage.
Oh, so we would give a number to each one of them, but you could
Correct.
give 3 10s and 3 9s and
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
Is that really? I don't understand how that comes out in the end.
Numerically, it'd be 1 through 8, and that's how it would come out. But I do see what you're doing with the 1 through 10. It's almost one and the same thing as the other form, though.
In some regard, yes. You could end up in ties, right? And then you would have to kind of re-rank them, so then you would still take say you had a three-way tie, you can take a three-way tie. It may or may not influence the outcome. It may end up being the same percentage. That would be that could be a scenario in which we end up in.
Okay, I'm good with the numeric value. Again, once someone takes one of the numbers, someone takes a 5, the 5s are gone. Someone takes a 9, the 9's gone. I'm good with the numeric value.
The first one?
It's the one I'm seeing on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Again, either they're both one and the same thing. So whichever one's the pleasure of the council. I'm good with this one.
So Kathy, you had a question about maybe giving everybody a 10. Is that one of the concerns you had?
Well, my question was, if you could give 3 10s. Because
Right,
you mentioned
right.
about voting for 3. But
Right. That's what my mind was
I don't
going to.
that works for 3 10s.
Right.
Yeah, so someone could potentially end up with almost 100%, right? I mean, if all of you felt independently that a particular candidate is a 10, obviously each one of you would rank them a 10, and then that person would potentially end up with 100%, right? So you're not limited in terms of once a particular rating is given, each of you have the opportunity to rank them according to how you feel each of those candidates are qualified and what their skill set is that you feel comfortable in terms of the nomination to serve as a planning commissioner.
And again, only giving that number once. So once you've set a number for somebody, David Calderon gets a 10. 10s are gone, correct?
Yes, and that's against what I said. Because I said
that's what I'm wanting clarification on.
Oh, no. So each of you could rank them 1 through 10. So you can rank Calderon. Well,
yes, each of
your
us
scenario, yes, you can say, you know what, only one of the 8 is a 10 in my book, right? So you, as a council member, would rank that one individual 10. The rest could vary between 1 and 9, right? But you can feel that, you know what, I really feel that my top 3 choices are all 10s. So you, as an individual council member, would rank them 10, those 3 candidates, and then the other 5 you would rank accordingly on how you felt that they are qualified, or in your opinion of what they bring to the planning commission. So each of you are having an opportunity to rank the candidate, each individual candidate 1 through 10.
All right. So let's just pick somebody and let's run with it. See what happens. If it works.
Well, you want to run through an example? I mean, we can run an example.
I mean, if we're able, Gabriel, if we're able to everybody put a 10 on whoever they wish to put a 10 on, and if they wish to put 10 on the 3 that they wish to select, and we all did that, and would that work out? I guess that'd be the one question.
I think personally, I think the first one is less complicated and just straight to the point, and we keep moving forward. That's just my personal.
Is that process elimination concept? The first one is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Want to just do that one, Gabriel, and just so we can move on?
I want to be clear. It's council appointees. We're presenting the format. So as a council, if you feel most comfortable with the first proposal, we're prepared to go on that process. I think what we want to be careful is that ultimately it's you as a council making those appointees, not
Give us
staff choosing.
You mentioned to give us an example. Let's do an example. Don't use the names, but use them ABC or whatever. I mean, put a number on them and score them, and let's see how it comes out.
So Yasmina, go ahead. Like
Sure.
I'll play a council member, something I don't ever do because I have a lot of respect for you. So for example, I would say David Calderon, he's an 8, right? So I don't know if you can fill that in or not, Yasmina. All right. David France is an 8. All right. Mr. Harmer is a 7. All right. If there's any of the candidates, it's generalizing. We're role playing here. Mr. Rouser is a 9. All right. Gus is a 9. David is a 10. John Sanchez is an 8, and Christina is an 8. All right. So then we add that up.
So then we would add this up on my calculator. And 8 plus 8. Oh, shoot. Well, actually, we would add up for each council member. We would, so say I go next, and I would rank them, and then I would rank David Calderon as a 7. So then going from there, David would get 15 points, and 15 divided by 50 would be.
I think the process of elimination would probably be better,
I'm wondering too.
because this one here could get really, because I could go 10, 10, 10, then all 9s,
Mhm.
or
Right.
you know, because
Because
you know, so
because you can have 8 people with the same number, it doesn't actually fix the situation.
yeah, so I think the process of elimination might just be something might fit us right now at this time.
If that's the consensus of the council, Yasmina, I'll have you pull up the spreadsheet. Is that, Mayor, the consensus of the council?
I think I heard Chad was okay with it. Caesar? I think
I'm
I
good.
think
I'm
so.
good with the first one.
Okay. Kathy?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Garcia?
Yes, sounds fine.
Okay. All right, we'll go with this one. City manager.
Okay, so in this format, each of you will give me your top 3 choices, because we're only talking about 3 seats, and then we'll put a yes next to it. And then the next council member will give me your top 3 choices, and on and so forth. And over on the right, they will tally up the vote.
Okay.
So Mayor Alvarado, we'll begin with you.
All right. James Harmer, Gus Oliveira, and John Sanchez.
Okay. Councilmember Garcia.
I'll go with Peter France, Gus, and John Sanchez.
Okay. Councilmember Givens.
Yes, sir. I will go with Peter. I will go with Mr. Pizer and Mr. Sanchez.
Okay.
Sorry, Peter, if you're watching, I should have said Mr. Franz. My apologies.
And council, just so you know, it's alphabetical, so we didn't go any particular order other than by alphabetical. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
I'm gonna go with Peter France, Gus Olvera, and John Sanchez.
Okay, Councilmember Prout.
Okay, I go with Franz, Christine, and I'm going to put Kirk in.
Okay. So as of right now, council, as you can see on the screen, you have Mr. France with 4, and you have Mr. Sanchez with 4, and then you have Mr. Oliveira with 3. And no tie.
At that point, there is no need for a tiebreaker if you have an affirmative vote. Is this correct? Or are we wanting to move on?
No, correct. You're correct, Councilmember Givens. This would be your top 3 candidates that you've selected.
Okay.
Okay, so are we, is this part completed, this portion?
So the voting selection has been completed. If you're ready to vote, you would need to take formal action stating that the 3 individuals that received the highest votes, that being Mr. France with 4 of the 5, Mr. Sanchez with 4 of the 5, and Mr. Olvera with 3 of the 5, that would be the individuals being appointed to the planning commission, and you would vote as a council on that.
Okay. So can I get a motion, please?
I will make
accept the-
a
I'm sorry.
motion to accept the top 3 selected votes. Mr. Peter Franz, Mr. John Sanchez, and Mr. Gus Olvera.
I'll second.
So we have motion by Councilmember Givens, second by Councilmember Prout.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to number 2, on manager report, council directive on future city street parking policy.
Currently, Mayor and Council, this is an item for discussion and direction. And our Public Works Director, Mike James, is making a staff report. At the end, we want to engage you in a dialogue to get input and feedback on the presentation. And then any formal action would come back to you at a later date, should there be an actual agenda item. So with that, Mike.
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, Public Works is evaluating the need to update the city's street parking policies. These policies are typically adopted to address long-term commercial truck parking, but have also been used to address safety concerns. The last update was adopted by the council a couple of years ago, mostly to limit commercial truck and general parking at Beach Avenue, Walker Street, but at the same time, the city allowed long-term parking at East Ash Avenue, immediately east of the MCCF facility. Some recent developments warrant revisiting street parking policies, particularly at East Ash, which are the MCCF closure, where at the street there, you're currently required to have a city-issued parking permit. And there's also the factor of Public Works occupying the new corporation yard with immediate access to East Ash Avenue. And there's also the planned regional park and recreational complex that's being planned by Shafter Recreation and Parks. So Public Works and the police department are wrapping up some policy proposals right now that will likely include extending parking restrictions to East Ash Avenue and prohibiting parking at Beach Avenue between Lerdo and East Ash because it doesn't appear to have the proper width for the type of traffic that is flowing through there. Staff is here tonight to request council directive on at least one matter relating to street parking, which is how they're adopted basically. What we'd like to do is use an ordinance to formally establish these street parking policies. Resolutions in the past have been simple and fairly straightforward to establish, but staff has from time to time been using outdated resolutions for enforcement, not knowing that more recent resolutions have been adopted and are the actual current policies. And as you know, an ordinance would update the municipal code, which is really what staff should be referring to when with respect to parking matters are enforced. It's similar to what's done for speed limits. The drawbacks of using an ordinance mostly is that it takes time to develop and update because we're needing multiple meetings for a first and second reading. But still, an ordinance is the preferred route by staff, but we would prefer to make the council aware of this strategy and allow for council feedback and directive before we move forward. And as the city manager stated, we'll likely bring something before you for formal adoption or consideration of formal adoption at a future meeting. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. James. City Manager, you have anything to add to this before I open it up to council?
No, Mayor, not at this
City
time.
Manager? Okay.
Not at
Right,
this time.
now,
If there's follow-up questions from council, I'll be happy to respond.
Okay. Any questions from council?
If we're going to change truck parking, shouldn't we have some involvement? You know, what kind of an issue that is throughout our community because of so many trucks and so many drivers that need to have a place. Now, I understand the needs of moving people from East Ash. I understand that. And whether we do it immediately or bring them in and let's talk about it, or let's find some alternate places.
Yeah,
So-
the council, go ahead, sir.
Oh, so Councilmember Prout, point well taken. I think the item before you was if there is direction for you to consider making changes, obviously, as probably Mike was going to say, we will engage and do community outreach, particularly with any of the community that is in the truck driving business. We would publicize a workshop. I think under the current situation, large gatherings are strongly discouraged. And so it'd probably be some format of a Zoom, or a survey. We would definitely look to do community outreach. So we're first wanting to present this to you, that if you're willing to consider before we do any outreach.
Yeah, you know, my thing is, you know, I agree with Kathy, and if we ask those people to move their trucks and stuff, where do you think they're going to go? Because I'd hate for them to go to their, you know, their homes, you know, because, you know, right now, well, maybe thank God I won't be a city council member anymore, but I can let the other people know. But they tend to I get neighbors that tell me they're mad at their neighbors because their big trucks are parked there. So if we don't let them park there, I just wonder where are we going to advise them to park? Does anybody have an idea?
Yeah.
One scenario is Councilmember Garcia is the use of Golds Avenue. That's one immediately available or adjacent street that could be used. But that's probably something we would learn through the outreach that the city manager was referring to. I think we would learn from that as well, as far as what options they realistically have beyond city streets, and we could factor that into the recommendation.
Yeah, sure. Okay, sounds good.
So how are we going to do a community outreach when we're not supposed to get together? It's rather difficult for some of these people.
And so, Councilmember Prout, Mayor and Council, we've learned some best practices, and I can give you an example. The work that our Public Works Director, Mike James, and our Assistant to City Manager, Rachel, as you know, we've currently been engaging our community with the Prop 68 park application and getting community input. So we've learned some best lessons from that process that I think we would deploy in this type of situation. As you may know, part of that community engagement for the Prop 68 consisted of both in-person with social distancing and appropriate safety measures, face mask and whatnot. And it also included Zoom community workshops. So it was a combination of both. So I think we've gained some recent experience on how to conduct some community outreach under the current situation.
Yeah, and I just want to give you guys a heads up. They're going to be people like really concerned because they already have been calling me and about the truck issue. I guess you already did something, which was fine. You know, you told them or you warned them, because I got calls and I just kind of didn't know. So, you know, I tried to sugarcoat it as best I could. I can't remember what I told them. So, but anyway, just be ready for it.
Didn't we have conversation? And Mike, I don't know I don't remember if you were in on this. I would assume you are. Didn't we have conversation about the Brown Bryant property?
There you go.
On utilizing that location? I know there have been talks with the state, but with everything that happened in the last few years, I'm not sure if we ever had any resolve on that.
Councilmember Givens, that still is a possibility. It's not an immediate possibility. The state Department of Toxics is still monitoring the site and has not made it available for any use whatsoever. But we're continuing to monitor that. So I don't know if it'll factor into our short-term plans, but it might be worth considering long-term.
And actually, that's exactly what I told them. I told them about that Brown and Bryant project. But I shouldn't have said this, but I did tell them I think they're going to get to park there for free. But I just, I just had to,
Comes free.
I just had to get it out. I just didn't know what to tell them, to be honest with you. But I remember what Chad just said, the Brown and Bryant. That's what I said. I remembered, but I shouldn't have told them they're going to park there for free. I'm going to tell them to talk to Kathy.
Yeah, that's it.
And Mayor and Council, with Public Works Director James and I have talked about that Brown and Bryant site, and having served as a city manager in other Central Valley communities, the trucking industry is always a challenge because they are part of our community. They're business people, but they also do pose noise and wear and tear on the roads. And anytime the city were to consider a parking structure of sorts, there's a number of things we would have to take into consideration. Air District, and more importantly, the state would probably make anybody who would to develop a site to make sure that it had asphalt and it had the proper drainage to capture any oil or other type of fluids that may leak from the vehicle. Then there's also the issue of security, and probably would have to have the installation of a fence. And then there's additional on-site security, who's responsible for any theft. So those are all types of issues that, we would want to talk through with those individuals in the trucking industry that reside in our community. And then we would come back to council with more information.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, City Manager Gonzalez. Any more questions from council before we move on or give direction?
No, mine's just a comment. That's all I got. I got a comment. Once we do the community outreach, that's going to be key. As a former truck driver myself, I drove trucks for a while. It's very important for these. That's their business and their livelihood, and reaching out to them is the best thing we can do. We need to hear their concerns and then move on from there. So yeah, we're on the right path. Michael, James, and Gabriel.
Okay. Sounds good. So, City Manager Gonzalez, do you need direction, or what do you want to go from here?
Yeah, if it's council's direction for us to at least move into the next phase, which is the community outreach, and gather input and feedback from the community, and then come back and we would provide that as a separate, as another report to you at a future council meeting. At this point, with the holidays upon us, I think it would probably be over the next 3 to 4 months that we would engage in the community workshops. Plus, we're still finalizing the Prop 68 grant application. And so any community outreach would probably, will most likely happen after the first of the year. So we'd be talking about maybe as early as March when we would come back to you with additional information.
So you wouldn't have any community outreach until March?
No. We would start scheduling a community outreach after the first of the year.
Okay.
And then the plan would be to come back to council, hopefully sometime in March, with the initial findings from the community workshops.
It may be that you have some magic, because we've had big discussions before with these truckers, and they get pretty excited.
Oh, no, they do. I've had my share of dealing with this topic. Like I said, I've served in Central Valley communities. I know how important this is for some people. So,
yeah, I mean, we need to have some alternative plans.
Certainly.
Just real quick. I mean, this is something, like I said, when I was getting calls a little bit on it and people asking me about the truck issues. Now, this is not my property, obviously, but I noticed that Michelle Wilson over there by Fresno or Merced, they have a big, huge yard. It's about over 20 acres and it's fenced. Now, again, that's later on. Maybe Mike, I'm just throwing it out there for Mike James can get an idea. It's across from the labor camp. They have a big acreage there. I mean, just something for you guys to think about in the future.
Certainly. Thank you for that.
Okay. So, any more input or questions or comments before we move on? I just want to, all right, just the only thing I do, emphasize on is in person as much as you can in the workshop and also on Zoom, because I know some of these truckers, they go, they drive a day or two out of town. So with Zoom capability, they're able to at least share their comments and concerns, because I just, for the fact that my son-in-law is a trucker too. So occasionally he brings his truck home. So it is a very critical, important issue in our community. And so I just want to make sure that they do have enough time, that we give them enough time to participate in the in-person or in Zoom, that the information gets out in plenty of time. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to number 3 of the management report. And number 3 is council approval of a one-time general fund budget amendment from the general fund unassigned fund balance in the amount of $100,000 to the planning department for the hiring of a new planning director. City manager?
Certainly, Mayor and Council, as you know, our current planning director, Wayne Clausen, has provided notice to the city that he intends to retire May of 2021. As you know, Wayne has close to 20 years of experience, having worked with the city of Shafter. In those almost 20 years, he's accumulated a lot of institutional knowledge of the intricacies of all the planning aspects related to the city of Shafter, both from short-term planning to long-range planning, i.e. our general plan, housing element, and other type of planning documents like that. So as to not lose continuity within the planning department, and to continue to reassure our development community of that continuity of operation with the impending retirement of our current planning director, I think it would be prudent for us to backfill and hire that future replacement sooner rather than later. Oftentimes, agencies wait until after the person retires, and then they'll bring in an interim, and then they bring the permanent. In this case, because, as I said, the amount of institutional knowledge that Mr. Clausen has, I am proposing that to recruit and hire that future new planning director now, and have them shadow Mr. Clausen for a period of anywhere between 4 to 5 months, and to try to download, if you will, as much of that information from him as possible. More importantly, too, to meet a lot of our key developers in our community. And as you know, we have our logistics center. Some of you commented about the number of projects that have come to fruition out there. And one of the key factors that contributes to the success of the logistics center is our planning, engineering, and building department, and how quickly, and us having a one-stop center has contributed significantly to be able to attract those large national companies like what we see out there. Also, too, a lot of the housing, we have Gossamer Grove, we have a couple other specific plans. Housing is in shortage in Kern County, as you probably read recently, in spite of the current economic crisis. And so I think we want to continue to reassure the development community that there is continuity and stability in the planning department, so that when they come in for their plans and entitlement, they'll continue to be expeditiously processed and efficiently and effectively, because in the development world, as you all know, time is money. And so I think having someone on board to shadow Mr. Clausen for 4 to 5 months is critical for us to be able to maintain that continuity. And so with that, in the budget, we did not include funding for for recruiting and hiring a new planning director to overlap while Mr. Clausen is still with us and before his retirement. And so for that reason, I'm requesting a one-time budget amendment from the general fund unassigned in the amount of $100,000. So the $100,000 is a fully burdened cost. That includes base salary plus benefits, plus vacation. And so it's a fully burdened cost, because even right now, when we budget for our salaries, it's at a fully burdened cost. That includes all the PERS, all the retirement, all the medical. And so the $100,000 is the maximum amount. It's basically a not to exceed. It's up to $100,000. If we end up using less than that, there's a possibility, but I feel comfortable, and we've costed out that $100,000 would be sufficient funds to cover between now and May. A lot of that depends too, how quickly we're actually able to recruit and hire somebody. Right now in the holidays, there's not a lot of movement in candidates wanting to relocate during the holidays. And that's always a challenge. And if that were the case, and we didn't bring someone on board till like January, well, then we're only talking about 3 to 4 months, all right? But if we're able to successfully find somebody that's willing to relocate and start now, well, then obviously we would be adding like another month or so to that. So it just gives me flexibility on that. So I'm asking council again, consideration approval of a one-time general fund budget amendment from the general fund and assign in the amount of $100,000 to the planning department so that we can hire a new planning director. And that's my recommendation.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from council?
I have a comment.
Kathy, I'm sorry.
I think that we need to authorize the position first and then see what we get and then consider some kind of a salary as we go along. Because as he says, we may not find anybody. And I think that up to 100,000 is way too much money to spend for a 4 to 6 month shadow person. Because I think the other main topic we need to look at is a building inspector. And the reason I say that is there's an awful lot of commercial stuff that's happening right now, as well as what's going to happen. I mean, we can't just ignore it. And those people are hard to find for a building inspector. And I think we ought to be authorizing to go out and look for both of those positions immediately. And then we'll have to decide on the amount of money that we're paying. I mean, what kind of a recruitment are we doing? Are we doing just a simple word of mouth, or what are we doing?
So the recruitment, so to answer the first question, with regards to the building side. So the item tonight is related to the planning. With regards to the building inspection, our building official, Dennis Fielder, and I have talked about that. He's fully aware of the amount of activity. There's some possible reorganization that's going to take place there because of some staffing changes, just natural attrition in the staffing. And so we're preparing to come to council at the mid-year budget review with the proposed changes and additional requests, because there is an increased amount of activity taking place. And as you all saw, the type of facilities being constructed at the logistics center and the amount of time in which they're constructing these in terms of how rapid they build and construct, it consumes a considerable amount of our inspectors' time out there. It's almost like if you had a dedicated inspector out there, we would definitely be able to keep them busy all day long out there. And so we're fully aware of that. And like I said, we're coming to council in mid-year, not already in the building department, but there's some other reorganization changes proposed to create efficiency and operational capacity. In terms of the salary for the planning for staff, you have an approved salary schedule for directors. So the amount here, the 100,000, is within the salary range. It's within the benefit package that's currently offered to the incumbent. And so this is not at a line from what's currently being offered. And it's consistent with the unrepresented management resolution and a salary schedule for these positions.
I still would rather we not put a figure out there until we get the recruitment going and consider both of those positions.
So the 100,000 is not the salary, obviously, that we're paying the individual. That's the amount needed to cover for those 4 or 5 months, which it's probably going to be less than that. But
because we're not hiring them yet.
Yeah, I mean, the salary range for our directors, I believe, is between 100 and, I think Carol's on the line, but it's between 145 up to tops out about 180 for director level.
No, I looked it up. It's 115 just on salaries, the high range.
Carol, are you on the? I think you're on the call for department.
With it.
No, I mean, I think it
that's not what I'm trying to push out there. I mean, we want to hire the person that's willing and capable of doing the job, and then we'll see what we're going to have to pay. We can always adjust the pay scales. I mean, those can be adjusted.
I think there's 2 different conversations happening, but they're all in the same realm. So we approve a position, we already have, like you say, Gabriel, we already have an approved pay schedule. So if we're just approving the position, that individual is going to fit inside that pay schedule for that position, A, B, C, D, or E. Correct? So I don't know if it really matters if
Doesn't matter.
approving a position or approving an amount.
I want to see,
The step E for a planning director with the current salary schedule is $4,779.
$79. That's right. I know.
But then you have to add, the additional cost for the benefits.
I understand that. Yes, that's right.
And then
Carol, is that amount bi-weekly?
that amount is biweekly, correct?
Okay, so it's times 26.
Correct.
$120,000.
124,254.
But that's not what I'm questioning. I'm questioning the fact of getting the right people for these two positions. And if we're going to be looking for planner, we might as well start looking for the planning inspector.
Building inspector, you mean?
Yes. I mean, they're going to both be difficult to find, especially one that's going to fit what we want and what we need.
One will be harder to find than the other, and that's the planning
Inspector.
No, that's the planning director. That'll be a lot harder to find than the inspector.
No, they both are.
Well, I think in today's market, I think any position is going to be difficult to find the right person. There's still a lot of movement, a lot of retirements, and people are moving from job to job, even in today's economic times. So the item before you is related to the planning director. If council is their discretion is to bring back a future item to hire for a building inspector, then that would have to be agendized separately and be brought back to you. But the item before you tonight is related to the planning director.
I think it's a good idea what you're doing, because you got to stay out in front of this stuff. And, like the logistics center, it's going great. It's moving fast. And so eventually, there's so many parcels up for sale in Shafter right now. And I know, there's developers looking around our area, and they should be, because we're building a lot in Gossamer Grove. I get that. I understand that. But believe it or not, there's a lot of people that want to kind of stay in Shafter. So I see a lot of, parcels that are up for sale. Acreages, 20 acres, 40 acres here and there. And so I know developers are going to start coming in. So I think it's a good idea that we get this planning thing ready to go, because you want to stay out ahead of these things. So, that's just my take. I think it's something that we need to do.
I agree. We definitely need to do it. I disagree that we're staying ahead. Staying ahead means we would have done this 4 or 5 months ago when we talked about it in the budget session. And that's the time it was brought up, and it should have been dealt with at that time. However, we still need to go through and do it. Now, one way or another, we're either agreeing a position that for a 6-month salary, if they step in here today, then they're going to get in that range. Obviously, that's not the salary range, but with the whole package put together, I understand that. Or vice versa, we know that's our range and we know what the position is. I think it's one and the same. But yes, we need to do it and move forward with it.
Yeah.
And like I said, just to reiterate, like our building official and I have talked about the amount of time that our inspectors spend at the logistics center. That is the bulk of the workload. And so we're fully aware of the fact that they do consume quite a bit of our inspectors' time out there, more so than what we have in residential or commercial outside of the logistics center. But understandably so, as you all saw, the type of facilities they're building would require a significant amount of our building inspectors' time out there. Which is something to continue to consider, because by all indication is the logistics center is not slowing down. It's going to continue to build, and they're attracting more companies to the industrial part. And so, just another point too, in addition to the base salary is everything else that is paid: PERS, medical, vacation. So it's a fully burdened rate. While although the base salary is the 4,000 and change biweekly, that does not include the city's cost for PERS. And that varies if it's a classic member or a PEPRA member. Medical, we typically budget at the highest amount, which is employee plus family. But that could be less. If it's a person that is single with no family, that's obviously going to be less. And so, like I said, the 100,000 is for the fully burdened cost of the position. It's not just base salary.
Well, I'll make motion for, the one-time general fund budget amendment, but, so I started it, so.
Okay, may I get a second, please? Or is there any other questions or comments before we move on? Because I can't see everybody.
Kathy, would it put you at ease if once the individual has been, quote unquote found, that he comes back to us as a council and just discusses the terms?
Well, yes, I mean, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. We need to get the planner. We needed to do it before, and we did talk about it. And I'm telling you, we need to get a building inspector. And I think we ought to be out advertising for both of them, and then we can always deal with the salary. That's not the key right now. Positions are the key.
So can we make, Manuel has a motion on the floor. Can we make a second, but add an item that says, come back to the council with what you found and what the negotiations are prior to final approval?
Well, yes, because that's what happens. I mean, you look at your salary schedule and you go with what you have. I mean, we approved the position. We don't have to approve any money. It's already on a salary schedule.
Correct.
Mayor and Council, Councilmember Givens and Councilmember Propp, just a friendly reminder, under the city charter, the city manager is the one that hires, and council,
right.
you authorize the positions and you set the salary schedules. But the actual terms and conditions for negotiations for what the employee will make, it falls on the city manager.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So we don't need to have it on here. I want to just see us go out there and get these people. They're both needed.
And what Kathy's saying is make an amendment to the way it's read, and instead of approving $100,000 for a position, approving a position, period.
That's right.
Okay, but without a budget, so you're authorizing a position without a budgeted funds to it.
Well, that'll come with it after we hire one. You even commented that we may not get one until next spring.
So typically when you advertise, you list a salary range. And that's how positions are noticed. You don't notice a position without a salary range.
Then you put in what we already have it.
Right. So our salary range would fall that. So we still don't have a budget. So I would still be coming back to you for a budget amendment.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll second the motion on the table.
All right,
And
we
what-
have a motion. I'm
What is
sorry,
it?
Kathy.
What is the motion then?
For a budget amendment to allow the position to be searched and found and filled.
But also the budget amendment of 100,000, correct?
Correct, the budget amendment.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
already done.
All right. So we have a motion by Councilmember Garcia, second by Councilmember Givens.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Prout,
I'm telling you, that's not the way I like to do it. That's not the way I should do it.
You could put no, I mean, it's all right. It's not no one's gonna get mad.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't get that. Did you get that, Yasmina?
No, I'm sorry, Councilmember Prout. Is that a no, or do you wish to abstain? Excuse me.
It's a no.
No, okay. And Alvarado.
Yes.
And
All
I'm
right,
gonna, at this point, I'm gonna ask that the next meeting has an item to hire a building inspector.
Well, I mean, we can hire one right now. Just put it in. I'm fine because I know that Michael.
All right. Okay. All right. Hey, excuse me. Sorry, Councilmember Garcia. We're going to move on, and we're going to move on to city manager's comments and reports.
Okay, so Mayor and Council, I just want to clarify. You had one council member asking for what's the consensus of the council? Am I bringing something back at a future meeting or not? I just want to get clarification because I don't want to feel like we're forgetting to do something as a staff.
Yeah, I would go a little bit further and say, and I see Dennis on here. If this is something that you and Dennis have discussed and believe that we need to move down that road, whether Dennis says there's 2 needed or 1 needed, and I presume there's 1 needed, absolutely. But again, it's based on you guys as staff and Dennis's staff and making sure that it makes sense for us as a city to do what is needed to ensure our businesses are getting the service that they require.
And I agree with Chad.
So just Mayor Council on that point, as I said, I was already planning to bring an item to you as part of the mid-year budget review so that you're making a decision based on our current budget situation and where we stand, because this was not budgeted. So again, you would have to be making a budget amendment, taking it out of the unassigned, therefore the reason to be part of the mid-year budget. But if it's council's desire to bring it back sooner, then it would be outside of the budget and it would still require a budget amendment because it would be a whole new, brand new position.
Correct.
That's right.
City Manager, you still on your comments and reports?
Okay. So just, I'm not trying to berate and beat a horse here. It's just, there's no consensus to bring a future item on.
You did have a consensus. As long as you and your director are good with doing it, then you had a consensus to bring it on.
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor, 5 nods or majority?
To add an item on the future agenda? Is
Yes,
that what you're, and that would be the building inspector, correct?
correct.
Sure, absolutely.
You had a majority there.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thanks for the clarification.
Yep.
We're still on the comments and reports of City Manager.
So Mayor and Council, a few items to provide to you. You probably all are fully aware that the governor announced yesterday that 40 counties within California, to include Kern County, are back to the most restrictive of the tiers, the purple tier. In our call this morning with County EOC, Public Health was on the call that joined us, provided a number of types of businesses and the restrictions. We'll be getting that information from Public Health. We're hoping to get that today, maybe tomorrow. And then we'll be sharing that with you and the rest of the community so that businesses in the community know what's open, what safety measures have to adhere. Right off the bat, I can tell you that restaurants are impacted. They're back to outdoors. Churches are impacted. They're back to outdoors. Movie theaters are closed. Schools will be impacted, not so much in terms of any school that has brought kids back into class now, but those classes that have not been brought back for in class, districts will not be able to move forward with bringing them back. So it's basically, if they only have, say, 1st and 2nd grade classes in person, those can remain, but any additional grades will not be able to be brought back to in person. There'll be some restrictions with recreational activities and whatnot. Large gatherings are still will be restricted, and so we will have more information as we receive that from Public Health. We as a city will be updating our continuity of operation plan to comply with those new restrictions. Non-essential offices are going to be asked to increase the telecommuting and or telecommute altogether. So we'll be looking at our operations. As you know, our city hall is open today in terms of being accessible. Mostly the finance department, building, planning, engineering have already been open because they're considered part of the essential services that we provide. So we may have further limited access to City Hall, but all of that we'll take into consideration based on the directives we receive from Public Health. How that will affect us, as you know, we have talked about doing in-person meetings effective December 1 of our city council meetings at the Shafter Veterans Hall. So we will also evaluate how those restrictions will impact us or not impact us. But most likely it would still allow us to meet in person, being the council, myself, the city clerk, the city attorney, someone from IT. But members of the public would be restricted access for in-person meetings and then would be referred to participate via Zoom. That's one of the manners in which we're trying to see if that will be consistent with the safety measures and the recommendations and guidelines from public health. But more to follow on that. Just as it relates to the improvements at the Veterans Hall for audio video to be able to conduct these meetings, we have received some of the equipment. We're making some improvements to the facility, the security, the building. Now that we will be meeting there, we do have to make some certain ADA compliant improvements, particularly like, for example, the doors. Currently, the doors have the old style opening bars that now we would have to go to ADA compliant type panic bars that you just push out. So that's just an example of some of the improvements we're making, but we're still moving forward and in anticipation of having our first in-person meeting December 1. Our Design the Park workshop, the fourth one, will be held tomorrow night at the park. As I said, we're learning some best practices on how to have in-person community workshops. And so tomorrow night, the 18th, from 3 to 6, out at the site, there'll be the workshop taking place. This workshop will be more participatory, in that we'll be asking participants to provide input on mapping the park in terms of where they want certain amenities to go, like a playground, for example, and they'll be able to play around with some of that layout. Also tomorrow night at 6:30 via Zoom, we'll be having an environmental justice community workshop. This is the SB1 workshop that a lot of work has been going on for the last year, probably year and a half, well before my arrival. And so that workshop's being held at 6:30 via Zoom. Anybody that's interested in participating has to register with city staff so that they receive the Zoom information that will include a passcode so that they can access it. The reason they'll need a passcode is to restrict anybody from trying to hack in, or anybody that doesn't belong in that workshop from joining us. There's been a lot of activity in that regard. So 6:30 tomorrow, they can call Vanessa at City Hall to register, and we'll send them the Zoom information. Also, too, along with creating Christmas spirit, in conversation with Councilmember Prout, I know that historically the city has put up decorations around City Hall, the City Hall courtyard in downtown, and if there's interest on the part of the city, I think that would be a good idea to promote that Christmas spirit, especially during these times and the restrictions that we're now going to remain per public health. Unlike in the past, once the matrix data for a particular county improved, we would be able to move into the next tier. Right now, once you go into a particular tier, in this case purple, we will remain in there indefinitely. So again, because of the current situation, promoting Christmas, let me correct myself, holiday spirit is, I think, also just as important. And so I'll be talking to our public works and seeing what we might be able to do to put some decorations in and around the city to help promote that community spirit. So if nothing else, that concludes my report. And I do believe that Director James has one brief item to share with council. So, Mike.
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor, members of the Shaft City Council. Public Works is preparing to start the annual brush program. It's scheduled to start in December and last through February. The policies have been changed from previous years. It's offered to city refuse customers only. The schedule will be based on where a customer lives with respect to Laredo Highway, north or south, and the piles must be in the street and separated by material type. Program flyers will be distributed as utility bill inserts and posted on our various social media sites. And it's worth noting that the state's enforcement of new organics diversion programs could mandate weekly green waste collections as early as next year, which could eliminate the need or the justification for future brush programs. So we expect to have updates and recommendations on some of these new programs as early as your next regular meeting on December 1st. And that concludes department comments by Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. James. With that, finishing with that, can we move on to recess? For closed sessions, there's 2 items on closed session. Item number 1, conference with labor negotiators. Number 2 is conference with real property negotiators. So may I get a motion to adjourn and to move into recess?
I'll move that.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Proud, second by Councilmember Givens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I will put you in a breakout room. Just accept the invitation, please.
Wow.
Hey, Mike, before we get finished with the meeting, don't know if you saw, but tomorrow's meeting is canceled.
Are we talking to Mike James, council member?
Yes, sir.
Oh, he's gone. He hung up some time ago.
Oh, but his face just remains
Is it on there?
No, I think,
on there.
yeah.
Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry. Everyone else bailed.
Well, I don't think he heard me anyway because he hasn't said anything.
Oh,
Yeah, how's it going?
I thought I left. Sorry. I heard Chad. I heard Councilmember Gibbons talking in the background. I'm like, I thought I left.
Call me Chad. And no, I'll make sure you know that the meeting tomorrow is
Yes, I did get that.
making sure.
Yep. Thank you.
I think we're all here.
Okay, City Attorney Martinez, would you please report out?
Sure thing, Mayor. Earlier tonight, the city council recessed into closed session. All members were present for the closed session. There were 2 items tonight. There was conference with labor negotiators concerning the groups listed on the agenda with respect to that item. The city council heard a presentation from its negotiation team, provided direction, and we have no further reportable action. There was also conference with real property negotiators concerning the properties listed on the agenda. City council heard an update on those negotiations, provided additional direction for a purchase and sale agreement, and we have no further reportable action. That concludes the report, Mayor.
Thank you very much for that report. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Givens, second by Councilmember Garcia to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're